Hello and welcome to Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chats. Not as good as FDR's, but hey, it's something. Now, the first thing you'll notice is that none of the news stories in this episode are related to the DNC chair race. Because I'm recording this basically late the day before the DNC chair race is finished, and early day when it's done. Basically, I just didn't want to wait a whole day to wait until the results come in, so, just gonna leave that out there. Plus, maybe, I debated a bit to, maybe wait, but, it's just the scheduling for me in my personal life fit a bit better this way. I might include my initial thoughts in a comment or whatever, if you want, but, probably will get more general thoughts in the podcast afterwards. And with that, I might also have a prompt because I'm not necessarily sure what I should make the next podcast. I'm kind of debating one of two things. It's either going to be the next foreign election one, but I think I want to save that one for President's Day. Or, you guys can give, comment suggestions. I might make a thing, not a poll, but, just a community post asking, some podcast ideas. I'm also trying to look for podcast ideas for, Pride Month, because Pride Month, there's going to be apparently 5 podcasts in that month, and I don't really particularly have 5 subjects to go over. If there's a political quiz that you guys would like me to take that I've never taken before, you can leave the comment as well. Again, basically just opening the door to basically anything for you guys to want me to do. With that out of the way, let's get right into the news. The first news story is coming from Mexico. This is a thing that's been kind of teased in Mexico for a while, but basically in the last week of January, Claudia Sheinbaum officially announced that she was going to be sending a bill to Congress to officially ban the growing of genetically modified corn in Mexico, pointing out the big fact that she wants to make it so that she wants to define corn in the Constitution as an element of national identity, with noting that corn is a, quote, fundamental crop in Mexico, and that the plant is inseparable from and essential to Mexican food culture from its origins. It's sort of an expansion of something that happened in the AMLO administration, because AMLO basically made it so that there was genetically modified corn, but he basically regulated it to the point where it's it has to be in a specific area and only this specific area. You can't just grab genetically modified corn and just start dropping it in random parts of Mexico. And Sheinbaum, another thing that makes it interesting for her is that she makes a point that she wants to help Mexican biodiversity. And that's ultimately one big thing that is a very because this is the thing. There's a tight rope that you gotta walk with this. Genetically modified food and organisms are not necessarily a particularly it's a complicated issue. It's a complicated issue. You have to both make it so that because there are positives and negatives to genetically modified food. We've genetically modified food in the past. The particular methods and how can be up for debate and interpretation. One of the most common ways we genetically modify them is literally just selectively breeding them. But when some people think genetically modified food, they think of they're putting chemicals in the plants or in the animals, but then you also have to understand everything is made of chemicals. So it's kind of it's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag because sometimes we go too far in that respect. Where some people say, "Oh, genetically modified food is bad." Not to throw her under the bus, but my mother's a bit of the conspiratorial right wing nut job type, and one of her big things is that she basically is just she reads the back of cereal boxes, just wow, General Mills, they have this in cereals. They have paint thinner in cereals. It's what? What are you talking about? And then it's oh yeah, this specific ingredient is in both paint thinner and in food. And it's it has a specific purpose for this. It is not a dangerous chemical. It is just it's basically the equivalent of wow. This food has hydrogen dioxide. That's interesting. That's crazy. It's that's just a chemical name for water. It's this is and she also does the thing well, they're putting chemicals in the animals now. It's what do you mean now? This started when you were a child. What are you talking about? Like, again, it's a tough thing, because, like, there are some legitimate concerns you can raise about this kind of stuff, but then you have to be careful to not go too far, because that also can lead to some issues. But here's one big thing. Like, this is the thing that was interesting. Like, I saw the tweet Shinebum posted where she, like, explained this, and it's like, you know, nothing really too interesting, you know, whatever. But then all of a sudden, I saw this random guy, his name is Alex Stapp, and he basically started shitting on her and basically like, banning GMO crops in Mexico would be a disastrous decision. Research shows that using GMOs increases crop yields, especially in poor countries. Now, it's like, I didn't necessarily, like, I was a little bit, I wasn't like, because, like, this is the thing. I've kind of learned this a little bit. You gotta be a little bit skeptical. Like, when a person starts, like, being, like, a really, really, like, especially with Mexico, when they start criticizing them, you have to start thinking, like, well, wait a second. So I did a little research into him, and here's what I found. Alex Stapp, the co-founder and CEO of IFP, which is a science, like, skeptic type thing. And then it says here, previously, Alec was the director of technology policy at the Progressive Policy Institute, a research fellow at the International Center for Law and Economics, and a technology policy fellow at the Niskanen Center, and a graduate research fellow at the Mercatus Center. The Progressive Policy Institute is a non-profit organization that is a think tank for centrist Democrats. The Niskanen is a American think tank that is a moderate, like, advocacy group. And the Mercatus Center is a libertarian, free market-oriented think tank. And then, like, almost immediately afterwards, there was another guy from the Mercatus Center, M. Nolan Gray, that also started shitting on her about this. And her plan for this is also to help boost, like, again, it's to help boost agriculture in her own nation, prepping for the fact that the United States, just today, or just yesterday, literally instituted a 25% tariff on Mexico, which is going to go absolutely well. Yeah, the nation that gives us 60% of our fruit and, like, 40% of our vegetables. It's going to be a great idea to tariff them. Speaking of the tariffs, there's a specific other thing that is just getting, like, fucking, like, hilarious to see. It's like, so apparently Donald Trump announced that he was going to be tariffing like chips made in Taiwan. That's like, like, and even going so far as to say that the tariffs in Taiwan, like, the tariffs on Taiwan could reach as high as 100%. In particular, in the very near future, we're going to be placing tariffs on foreign production of computer chips, semiconductors, and pharmaceutical. Yeah, that's this thing. I was going to, like, mention this, but, like, yeah, pharmaceuticals, to return the production of these essential goods to the United States. And it's like, people immediately rush their brains to be like, wait, hold on. Like, because there's so many things I could say about this. One, he literally just announced that he's going to be raising the prices on drugs. I wonder if that's going to bode well for the fact that it's going to go absolutely amazing. But this is another one that a lot of people are pointing it out, especially me. Like, I point this out a lot because it's literally just like, it's just kind of like very blatant. It's like, dude, a 100% tariff on things made in Taiwan is literally the greatest thing Donald Trump can do for China. Literally. That is compatible with the fact that Donald Trump's latest tariffs, he's announced that the tariffs on China and Chinese products is only going to be 10% compared to the 25% of Canada and Mexico, and how he's going to tariff the EU. Like, the dude is literally just going to tariff all these countries into oblivion. Except the problem is, they're not going to suffer. We are. And China is going to benefit greatly. Like, I'm being very real. I just started sharing, like, the Donald Trump singing the Mao, like, song. Like, you know, the Mao song, Red Sun in the Sky. There's AI covers of it with Donald Trump singing it. And I just started releasing those. And I just started posting those. Because it's just like, dude, this is, like, literally in just 1 week, Donald Trump has given, like, win after win after win after win to fucking China. Like, I mean, literally. Donald, like, in the first week, he tried to say, I'm going to do big tariffs and sanctions on Colombia. And then what ended up happening is that Colombian Twitter started saying, hey, if the US is going to start fucking us over, why don't we join BRICS and start doing trade with China and Russia and India and Brazil and South Africa? Why don't we join BRICS? Then announces that he's going to be defunding the WHO, with China immediately stepping in and going, hey, you know what? We're going to foot the bill now. Now putting basically all of the nations that are in the WHO, so essentially all of them, into the debt of China. Like, that was one of the big things. That's one of the big things about, like, the return on investment in regards to all of our fucking, like, shenanigans overseas, like NATO, UN, WHO. The whole point of that is, like, we're indebting other nations to us. That's why we foot the bill to these places. I mean, whether you agree or disagree with it is one thing, but it's like, that's the objective fact of the situation. And is now going to be launching a 100% tariff on Taiwan, which is going to bankrupt the Taiwanese economy, which would then open the doors for China to step in and take control of Taiwan, the thing that they've been wanting to do for years. But then Trump decides to do one more thing that I thought was just like, I didn't think he was this stupid, but he went so far as to post on his Truth Social page that basically, he's like, you know what? Like, basically, they literally were literally, Donald Trump was basically like, I would assume after hearing all this news about the fact that all of these tariffs are pushing for people to go to BRICS and join China and push for Chinese hegemony, and immediately afterward, because like one of the big things about BRICS that a lot of people point out, and even a lot of conservative circles get like scary about, is the fact that a lot of these nations working together basically devalues the US dollar, because they're like, those nations don't primarily use the dollar, or at least they won't when they join BRICS. And that's the whole point. It's like China is trying to make the yuan the global currency. And then Donald Trump announces, very stupidly, hey, that you guys going off the dollar, that's got to stop. Otherwise, I'm going to tariff you. It's like, dude, that's the whole point. They're trying to form their own separate thing where they don't need you. That's the whole fucking point of BRICS. Like, bro, I'm sorry. I just got to say it. I gotta be real. American hegemony is failed. We're not going to live in a multipolar society anymore because there's only going to be one pole and it's going to be China. That's a fact. He's gift wrapping everything to China now. Bro, wow, that's just fucking funny. Speaking of funny, here's a news story. It's not necessarily political, but it is related to a issue that I'm very passionate about. And, oh boy, this one, it's a very tough issue. It's a tough issue because it's this thing I know. Because I gotta say this. I just gotta say this at first. I love Nintendo. I've only owned Nintendo consoles, and I've only owned, like, Nintendo stuff. I love Nintendo. I think their games are relatively good. I like most of their primary series. Be that as it may, politically, they're kind of trash because they have very, very, very strange views on copyright. One of the major things that you learn is that Japanese copyright is like kind of a bit more strict, but Nintendo specifically has very strange views on this. Anime companies are like one thing, but like Nintendo themselves are very strange in regards to when it comes to like things like emulation, things like all that kind of stuff, like emulation, piracy, fair use. There was even a point where literally two people who worked for Nintendo literally tried to do a let's play of an official Pokemon Nuzlocke let's play, but then they literally just said, no, we're not going to do that. Bad, because that's the equivalent of emulation. It's like, what are you fucking talking about? But regardless, turns out Nintendo was doing a little bit of a stupid thing. You see, for those who don't know, there is a supermarket in Costa Rica named Super Mario. Now, at first you might go, uh-oh, but it gets a little weirder. Apparently, this supermarket is 52 years old, meaning that the supermarket opened its doors in 1973. Mario was not created until 1981, meaning that this supermarket predates it. But why is it called Super Mario? Well, it's because in a lot of Spanish-speaking nations, supermarkets use the term super in the name. There's actually a Mexican-owned supermarket that operates in America, and their American affiliates are called El Super, like literally just like the supermarket. And it was called Super Mario because the guy who owned it was named Mario, or like had Mario in his name, and it was his supermarket. Okay, here it is. Don Jose Mario Alfaro Gonzalez. And basically, Nintendo heard about his supermarket this year, and almost immediately went, "Hey, hold on a second," and tried to sue them. Don Mario and his son Carlos said no, and Nintendo just went, "No, we own the copyrights to the phrase Super Mario everywhere, and due to this fact, we're going to sue you for everything you own." I don't know if they specifically want everything they owned, but they clearly wanted the name changed. And in a shocking victory, the Costa Rican National Register decided to say, no, the store owns the rights to the name because of the fact that they, like, not only, like, I mean, I would assume that the time frame meant something, but it's also because they checked all of Nintendo's copyrights and said, like, okay, what copyrights do you have for Super Mario? And they literally checked. It's like, okay, you have copyrights to video games, obviously, clothing, collectibles, toys, school supplies, ornaments, But then they noticed this. There's nothing in this paper that says you own the copyright to Super Mario as a grocery seller. And since this is a store, it didn't fall into what they own the rights to. And it's like, yeah, based. Yeah, screw you, Nintendo. You don't get shit. Like, I mean, legitimately, in the most honest sense, I am on the side of the supermarket, not the side of Nintendo, because I'm literally just like on the opposite side of copyright. Like, I mean, I have a video coming about. I'll have a video about this by March. It'll be the first video in March, I think, and it'll be the episode about like my views on copyright, and it's not gonna be the kindest episode on copyright. Because I've been radicalized way more. Like, I mean, you know me, you know some things. I have a playlist now of copyright. I made a video where I talked about piracy, and it's like, oh, is piracy good or bad? And you conveniently, I didn't list any bad things. And I also put all my videos under a Creative Commons license. But in that video, this video that I'm going to be making is going to be like me kind of like, not really giving necessarily like my entire views on copyright, but like, well, you'll see what it is when it comes out. Speaking of things we have to wait and see about, there's another thing related to copyright. Zoe Lofgren introduced a bill called the Foreign Anti-Digital Piracy Act to block sites from infringing on U.S. copyrights. Now, one of the first things that's actually interesting when you go to the site is that one of the first things that it says, like as a quote, it says, "A decade ago, I was at the center of the successful effort to prevent the Stop Online Piracy Act, SOPA, from becoming law. That was not because I support copyright infringement, but because I support the open internet." But that's one of the big things that she, like, that's one of the first things that she wants to make it known. Like this is not like SOPA. That's the first thing. That's the first thing that she wants you to know. This is not SOPA. Because that was my first immediate worry. Like, I saw this like thing, and I'm like, oh hell no. Literally the first thing I said was, oh hell no. Like, oh hell no. But then I actually decided to read the bill and actually see how things would go. Like, is it as bad as SOPA? No, it's not as bad as SOPA. But it does teeter on some lines. I can include links to a summarized and like a full version of the bills, like in the description or somewhere. But basically, a TLDR is that it basically just says that foreign websites who post copyright infringement will get banned if they get found out. Which I don't necessarily like. I mean, I don't think it doesn't really go in depth on like certain. I mean, basically, I think it would ban the websites and then cause a fine. I think that's basically the closest thing I see to any form of punishment. I think, and that's one of the big things about this bill. It targets foreign places, like foreign sites, like the other site, like the bad sites, the foreigns. Those places get targeted. but not us. And that's basically one of the big things about SOPA, is that it targeted everybody. Like, everybody was a target. Everybody was like, uh-oh. But this one particularly targets foreign sites. And with this, I think this is a little bit conspiratorial, but I think this might also be another TikTok ban. I'm just saying, guys. TikTok is well known for posting a bunch of, like, it's a popular thing that people post on, like, YouTube Shorts and, like, TikTok. Family Guy clip on top, Subway Surfers on bottom. Seth MacFarlane, like 20th Century Fox and /or Subway Surfers could sue TikTok for that. Breaking our copyright. Like, maybe not specifically targeting TikTok, but, like, it's targeting foreign-made sites. And there's another thing that's slightly conspiratorial, which is, I guess, it ties to the subject of this episode. But, like, a week before this bill came out, there was, like, a account that's just like, guys, let's post our favorite piracy websites. And then I posted a comment to it. Like, I mean, I liked and retweeted it because it was like, haha, funny. But then I realized, wait a second. And then I unliked and unretweeted, and then sent a funny Ed and Eddie meme, which was like, nice try, Fed boys. Because I saw someone, like, quote tweet it or, like, reply to it. It's like, guys, you're stupid. You're just posting the sites that they're going to get taken down now. It doesn't matter, because I do not believe that the copyright system as it is a good thing. I am fully 100. I mean, the only copyright reform bill that I want to see is less restrictions. Whether it be, if I were in Congress, I want to do a bill where it's like, the U.S. copyright system is dead. Creative Commons is the future. And I'm gonna do a little slight rant, because I noticed this. I kind of find it very odd that there are a lot of left-wing accounts that literally just don't have Creative Commons on their stuff. I mean, I'm sorry, guys. You guys seem it's a bit hypocritical. I mean, like, a second thought literally has one. It's like, he has a video that's like, why we should get rid of intellectual property. And I'm debating now to literally go to that place, comment, second thought, we should get rid of intellectual property. Also second thought, video is not under Creative Commons. I'm just saying, guys. It's really infuriating to see a lot of, like, I see, like, fucking, like, right-wing channels. It's like, and notice the left-wing channels that don't have Creative Commons, those ones, nobody looks at those don't get views. Meanwhile, the right-wing channels that have Creative Commons, they get, like, billions of views. I wonder if there's any sort of connection between the two. But yeah, I'm keeping an eye on the people who support this bill, just so I can see if anybody's cool or not. But to transition away from that, all I gotta say is, copying is not theft. Stealing a thing means one less left. Copying it makes one thing more. That's what copying's for. Speaking of copying, Senator Gary Peters decided that he's going to copy Joe Biden and decides to not run for re-election. Now, that one opens the door for immediately for a lot of people to jump into the possibility of a Senate race in Michigan. Because Michigan is a pretty close Senate race, so a lot of people have been, like, throwing themselves in as potential candidates. Like, I mean, what's his name? Like, someone, like, threw Perry Johnson into the fold. He immediately, like, said no. Peter Maher, the guy who tried to run, like, a centrist Republican bid last time. John James, Republican candidate for Senate 2 times, actually. Basically, a lot of people are, like, being thrown in. But on the Democratic side, things are a bit more heated. Gretchen Whitmer was thrown in and then immediately withdrew. Shri Thanadar apparently, like, jumped in the race to say, hey, I am not going to run this seat. Nobody asked. The person everybody's looking at right now is Pete Buttigieg, trying to see if he has any potential interest in the race. When I first heard that the seat was opening, I immediately thought of having Andy Levin run this seat. You know, base member of Congress, got screwed out of his seat by the Zionist lobby. You know, seemed pretty cool. But it turns out there are 2 names that have been thrown in as potential candidates that are based. There's Abdul El Sayed, who was the progressive candidate for governor in 2018, who got screwed by Shri Thanadar. And, of course, Rashida Tlaib. I don't necessarily have a problem. Like, my only problem with Rashida running, I don't think that she's going to lose. My only problem with Rashida running is just that, you know, 1, if she loses, and 2, like, if it leaves her seat open, you know, who replaces her? That's the concern I have. Look, if she announces, I mean, I'm just saying, don't, like, push her to run. If she wants to run, that's her decision. And like, if she runs, every slight concern goes out the window, and I'm basically bankrupting myself to support a bid. And Democratic Party might also try to go bankrupt in that, because Kirsten Gillibrand made the stunning announcement that now that she's the head of the DSCC, she's going to move the Democratic Party into a new, great direction. All right, Kirsten, what's your new, different game plan? Well, we're going to spend lots of money to try and make sure that the Democratic primaries pick specific candidates. Why don't you guys fucking learn? Making the stunning announcement that not only is she going to be trying to fund a primary bid in Michigan, she will also try to fund a primary bid in North Carolina and in Maine. Of course, why not? They worked so well last time. Well, Michigan wasn't in play last time, but it worked so well for Maine and North Carolina. Isn't that right, Senator Cal Cunningham? Isn't that right, Senator Sarah Gideon? Oh, wait. Neither of them won. This is the thing that infuriates me. The Cal Cunningham and Sarah Gideon were, like, Dems put shit tons of money into those races. And they fucking failed. They were massive failures. I've seen a lot of, like, fucking revisionism of, like, people like, well, I mean, if Cal Cunningham didn't, like, cheat on his wife, then maybe she would have had a chance. It's like, no. Did Sarah Gideon cheat on her wife? No. She fucking failed too. They literally, like, not only was it, like, it was not only the Democratic Party, like, activists spent their own goddamn cash to raise millions of dollars for whoever Suzanne Collins's Democratic challenger was. And she still failed. She wouldn't have won even with ranked choice voting. That's how bad she did. And now we're supposed to trust the Democratic Party again to, like, pick new candidates? Fucking dumbass. You guys don't learn. And we're all gonna suffer because you're too fucking brain dead to do anything right. I saw today, literally, Jamie Harrison literally said, I think Kamala Harris should run again. It's like, why are you people around? You serve no purpose. But these are the guys that are the ones, no, you see, we gotta trust these losers. Meanwhile, we can't trust any of these, like normal, like plebeians. They don't know what shit about what people want. It's like, and speaking of rich people trying to rig elections, Nicole Shahanan, the fucking, like, two-bit, not gonna say the word, but two-bit woman who was, like, RFK Jr.'s quote-unquote running mate, who basically just bought his way into the Republican Party. Like, she bought him into the Republican Party, essentially. And basically, what she has done is she said, hey, senators, if you guys don't vote for RFK Jr., I'm going to fund your primary challengers. Same thing with Elon Musk, where he's tried to make the claim, like, oh, I'm going to fund moderate Democrats in swing states. It's like, neither of you two are funding any moderates. Like, I think she literally said the same fucking thing, where she's like, I'm going to, this is a bipartisan message that comes directly from me. Like, no. Like, this isn't, like, bipartisan. Like, she's basically threatened multiple senators, like, hey, I'm going to fund primary bids against you guys if you guys don't, like, if you don't vote for RFK Jr. Like, and, like, this is the thing. Like, she's listed, like, a couple of the swing, like, candidates, like, Cortez Masto, I think. But the ones that caught people's eyes was, one, she said to Bernie, like, I'm gonna fund your primary bid. It's like, one, he's not running again. Two, he's an independent, can't primary independent. But the two that she's taken very huge strides is she's announced that she's going to probably be funding bids against Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff, two senators from Georgia, who she's now claiming she's literally making the claim, like, this is the dumbest thing, and MAGA people, since they're fucking brain dead and don't know anything, they jumped on board with it, where they're claiming that Nicole Shahanan is the only reason that Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff won in 2020, and that literally, if she puts her money towards different candidates, then magically they'll lose. Which, no. I mean, the money probably helped, but I mean, no. You weren't the sole reason that they won, you fucking dumbass. Like, no, that's not true. Stacey Abrams' voting drive did way more. And of course, since Georgia has basically kicked a bunch of people off the voting rolls, maybe he'll lose the general election, I don't know. But that's another thing that you gotta point out. There are two things that you gotta point out with that. One, I've seen this on Twitter. Good luck trying to get rid of a black pastor in a Democratic primary in Georgia. Like, for real. Like, you gotta think about that for 2 seconds. Like, she is going to go down to Georgia, down south, to Democrats down south, and then go, guys, don't vote for the black pastor that you guys have known for your entire lives. And two, she's hyping all this up for an election that's 3 years away. But it is kind of troubling that billionaires are literally just, like, billionaires like her and Elon Musk are literally just openly talking about, like, yeah, we're just going to buy elections now. Like, because it's perfectly legitimized under the Trump administration. I talked about Creative Commons earlier, but Larry Lessig's also got a lot of talks about, like, election reform and campaign finance reform. You know, maybe Lessig should be the 2028 candidate. Let's go, Larry Lessig, 2028. Let's go, boys. I'm ready. Anyways, now, after all that build up, I didn't know that the news stories were going to cause that much, like, discussion. Let's move on to the main topic of this video. I hope that it's worth. Yeah, I'm looking over the notes I have. It's probably gonna be worthy enough for another hour. Anyways, let's just get into it. I've made a podcast like this before, back during Halloween, where I did like the conspiracy theories that I actually believe in. But I'll happily relitigate some of the things that I said in that one, and also some things I've said in other ones, because I've said other things. Like during Pride Month, I occasionally went time for the EPU Crackpot theory of the day. It was week, not day, because the podcast came out weekly. But first, I gotta say this, because this is gonna be a bit troubling, especially for the kind of person I am. I very much pride myself on my evidence-based thinking in all the things I espouse. You know, I come from the new atheist school of thought. Wait, don't leave! I don't like the new atheist movement anymore. I mean, I like the good aspects of the new atheist movement, but I don't necessarily like all the, you know. But one of the big things that is very important for the new atheist school of thought was this huge element of critical thinking. And that was one of the big things that it prided itself on. We're critical thinkers. We're all critical thinkers. We think. We critically think. And that's one of the big things that's like the prime mover for like the atheist movement in general, but like the new atheist movement especially prided itself on its critical thinking, and I maintain that. I like me some critical thinking. The unfortunate problem is I'm the only new atheist that still does that. Like I don't believe in things blindly, and I don't just like, it's not like the first thing I say is like, oh yes, I believe that 100%. But like I usually, when it comes to things like especially important things, I usually try to look into it first before I make a decision. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again, if literally anything that I have said is like proven wrong, you know, feel free to like correct me. I'm extremely open to be corrected. Guys, I have a series on this channel where I go over mistakes that I made over the course of a year. I am very open to the idea of being corrected, because I believe that that is important to be informed. If you're wrong, you need to learn that you're wrong and change your thinking. I'm not blind. I'm not loyal. That's a bit strange to say, but like I'm not loyal to any of the things that I say, that I've said on this channel, and I have say. Like I mean, if somehow I find information that completely disproves everything I said ever on this channel, I would have to change everything that I believe and stand for. But, you know, I don't, due to the fact that I already have that critical thinking system, you know, I already have vetted the information coming in, so it's like, it's not really like I have to worry about like, all the information is wrong, because like I already checked the information prior. Like, I mean, and with politics, I'm not necessarily one of those guys that likes to do the whole like, well, theory. Like, I mean, yes, theory and ideology is important, yes. But I'm like, that's why I'm very critical of those, like, you know, like just read theory types. You know, I prefer to look at a person, like, especially like a political figure. I prefer to look at them at what they have done, what they've advocated for, what they have said, advocated for, and done if they ever got power. and actually judge them based on that. It's sort of like a give or take thing. Like, yeah, sometimes you can't analyze how a person has advocated their ideology, like, in practice, because they haven't done it in practice. Like, Karl Marx never took over a country and created the workers' proletarian revolution. I was going to say university, I don't know why. But Hugo Chavez has gone through his policies. He has advocated for beliefs and has actually tried to implement them. And I can judge him based on that. I judge Bernie based on the actions that he has done, the votes that he has taken, the bills that he's introduced, the bills that he's advocated for, and if he and the bills that he's passed. And if he were president, I could judge him based on that. Like, I could say I could say it's the same thing. Like, you can actually, I'm trying to explain it, even though I don't really need to explain that part. It's why people can have vastly different viewpoints on someone who goes from House to Senate, because, a person can change very drastically. Ruben Gallego is recently getting into a lot of shit because of the fact that he's moderated a lot of his stances, but that's kind of like what you're supposed to do, what you're quote-unquote supposed to do when you're in the Senate. It's why you get people like Kirsten Gillibrand, who literally, when they're in the House, they're like, oh, I'm this blue dog Democrat, rough. And then when they get into the Senate, they're like, oh, I'm actually like a firebrand progressive. It's like, they're just doing what they have to do to win elections, do that, but like, regardless. We gotta divert back to the topic, so this is a good transition back to it, and it's me shitting on conspiracy theories, because that's one of the big things about these critical thinking types. When you do critical thinking, one of the first things that you do is like you question like official narratives, like you question the information you're given to you. That's one of the big things about critical thinking. However, there are some people who go way further, and with the critical thinking mindset, go into conspiratorial nonsense. And I've said this in the previous episode where I discussed something like this before, but I actually don't necessarily believe that a conspiracy theory phase is bad. I went through a conspiracy theory phase as well, and I'm going to take a wild guess and say that a lot of you have gone through conspiracy theory phases in the past. But if you're truly a critical thinker, eventually you break out of the conspiracy phase, because conspiracy theories go one step further. It's never just you bring a question or you say one thing. They jump onto believing completely separate things. Like with vaccines, it's never just, oh, I have a question about the vaccine. It then transitions into the claims about autism and like all the fake bullshit things. And a lot of people are drawn into this kind of stuff because humans just lead short, boring, insignificant lives, so they make up stories to feel like they're part of something bigger. They want to blame all the world's problems on some single entity instead of a complex network of interrelated forces beyond anybody's control. That's a quote from a Cartoon Network show, and if you're gay, you know what it is. Humans use their emotions to sort of fill in gaps, sort of like believe things beyond just like, thinking critically about it. And unfortunately, I'm not immune. Sometimes I have beliefs that don't necessarily have like 100% proven facts of it. But I still try to base my belief system in some form of credibility and info and data and whatever. But sometimes there are some leaps and there are some stretches and there are some things. And for this video, I thought it'd be funny if I took a lot of, if not all, of the things that I believe that aren't necessarily proven or 100% factual, and then try to rationalize them, maybe give you some perspectives. Maybe you'll be like, oh, I agree with you on all these things. To some of you, I'm going to sound like a completely insane idiot, though. You can't blame me, though. Like, don't get mad at me. As of 2023, only 29% of the American people are right about the JFK assassination. And right off the bat, it probably clues you in. I don't believe the JFK assassination bullshit. It is not true. It's just objectively untrue. Oswald did it. Moving on. Speaking of assassinations, first one, and I think this is a big one. If you're a fan of the channel, you know what it is. The pre-100% killed Colosio. Luis Donaldo Colosio was killed by the Institutional Revolutionary Party. That is a fact. And I get the irony. I'm shitting on JFK conspiracy theories and then immediately going on, but this politician assassination conspiracy theory, this one's real. But that's because in the same way, every single, this is the thing. Conspiracy theories never end at just the question. They have to then find 15 million fucking oh, well, actually, blah, 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 blah. They have to find all these little things. And then every single one about JFK is just fucking wrong. as a person who knows about JFK, it's literally just like all these theories about his assassination are just fucking untrue. Like, no, he was not fighting the Federal Reserve. He, in fact, gave the Federal Reserve more power. And no, he wasn't a peacenik. He was a war hawk on many things. He was killed by a communist who thought he was an imperialist for fighting against the Soviet Union and Cuba. That is a fact about it. But the Colosio Pre one has a bit more legs to stand on. It's not enough that you can literally 100% verify, be like, oh yes, this is true. But it's enough to make you go like, okay, like, I mean, that's how they get you. That's how they get you. They always go like, well, that is interesting. One, the fact that there were tensions between the Salinas and Colosio prior to the assassination. They're putting a lot of attention on Camacho Solis over him. Like, yeah, there was a lot of attention being put on Manuel Camacho Solis over Luis Donaldo Colosio by Salinas and the Pre. But, like, this is where I'm about to get into it, because I'm gonna say the things that are, like, a little bit, like, questiony, but I'm also going to give explanations that could rationalize it to be, like, well, it's to lead to the opposite conclusion of what I'm saying. In fairness, Camacho Solis was literally trying to negotiate peace with a violent rebel group called the Zapatistas. And the divide between Salinas and Colosio was a little overblown. Like, I mean, the way that it is painted is that it makes it seem like Colosio was basically a Zapatista, when no, he was basically just a left liberal. It's basically the equivalent of, like, fucking, I'm trying to find a comparison that is, like, really, really good, but I'm trying to find one that can't be misconstrued as anything further. I can't really think of one, but, like, they were not, like, they did have ideological differences, like, a little bit, but they were more ideologically close than people give them credit for. It was more of a rhetoric thing as opposed to, like a thing. Like, for example, like, they, like, the way the way it's construed is, like, oh, Colosio was very, very critical. Like, he was like a loyal member of the Salinas administration, and then he became very, very critical at one point, and then immediately afterwards, he was killed after demanding that he resign. Which that part actually, I learned later afterwards, isn't actually true. I don't think he was actually trying to get him to be replaced. I don't think that's true. I don't remember. I tried to look this up prior, but I mean, because, like, sometimes, you know, it's like with popular mythology. There are a lot of people that, like, just genuinely believe the JFK assassination, and it's like it's getting harder to actually look up, like, actual information about it. Okay, next thing, the fact that Ernesto Zedillo, a weak cabinet member with zero electoral experience, was chosen to replace Colosio, who was a lot more ideologically aligned with Salinas. It's a common tactic for vicarious controlling in Latin America, especially. Mexico isn't even immune to that. Gaius did it before, if I remember correctly. But in fairness, Zedillo was the campaign manager of Colosio. So that shift makes a lot more sense in a Mexican context. I literally just did a video, but I released a video this year about the 2024 Mexican election. When Garcia couldn't run, they picked someone else. They picked his they picked his campaign manager to be the guy. So literally, the pre just did that. The fact that Mario Alberto, the guy who literally was the assassin, was shaven and, like, washed before arrested and being shown off to the public, you know, that's a little bit of suspiciousness, because, like, it's like, he doesn't look like the guy in the video. But does that really prove anything? I don't know. The fact that the full tape of Colosio's assassination isn't going to be released until 2005. But again, does that really prove anything? I mean, it doesn't necessarily say that there's anything damning on the tape, but, I mean, yeah. Zedillo did not attend Colosio's wife's funeral. That's a bit suspicious. However, she was also publicly accusing him of murdering her husband. So, let's just say you're being publicly accused of murdering someone's husband and you didn't, and then they die. Are you going to go to their funeral? How about the fact that Colosio's family all basically confirmed that they believe that the pre did it? Okay. MLK's family believe that the U.S. government killed him. I don't buy it. I don't think they're right. Look, if MLK is proven to be killed by the US government. I'll be the first to say something. I wouldn't be shocked, but I'm just saying I don't believe it. And yeah, these guys are angry. They want answers. They want to point the finger at somebody. And it's easier to point the finger at the pre. And the last piece of evidence for that is the fact that the pre has been accused of multiple murders of opposition candidates, with many people seeing them as all but confirmed assassinations. Yeah, but just because they did all those murders doesn't mean that they did this one. So yeah, it's possible. I do believe that the pre did kill Colosio, but still unproven. All right, next one. This is one of the ones from Pride Month. I believe that everyone's a little bisexual, or bisexuality is the default, or bisexuality is a lot more common than, people realize. These three are related, but also very different things, so I'll try to, be the best to explain, the differences, if I can. Okay, so basically, the first theory is that I think that everybody has to be a smidge bisexual, a little bit, it doesn't have to be a lot, but it can be like a thing where it's maybe, just maybe, you're 95% straight, but there's 5% of you that's gay, or if you're 98% straight, you're just there's a small chance that you're gay, but if you're gay, a super flaming gay guy, there's got to be a little bit of you that's women, cool. And I think it all boils down to the fact that humans have basic biological needs. Sex! And humans need to fulfill these needs, whether it be through procreation, recreation, or masturbation. I couldn't think of a way to go with the creation line. I mean, even ace people are not 100% never going to do anything. I mean, I could be proven wrong in the comment section or whatever, but I remember reading a webcomic of this ace person who explained ace people sometimes, do a little bit of the, because again, they're humans with biological needs. Sometimes they get horny, sometimes they just need to relieve themselves. It's kind of like autism. Maybe instead of the world just being oh, you're autism or you're not autism, or if you're gay or straight, or if you're bi, not bi, or whatever, maybe things are a lot more fluid than you realize. And we know of a lot of things of sexual flexibility before. Gay for pay, prison rape. To shift to a not sad example, many trans people point out the fact that after going through hormone treatments, they will shift sexuality. They'll literally be 100% unequivocally one thing, but then they'll come out completely different once they go through hormone treatment. Maybe they oh, they're bi, and then they turn out to be lesbians, T for T. But I don't know. Literally, clearly, if there's enough of a shove, people can adapt to some capacity. It's also very common in the olden days for trans people to stop at being gay. Put a pin on that for later. And I think it's because in our genetics, we have a very slight hint of bisexuality. Kind of like how humans are not simply carnivores or herbivores. We're omnivores. And why? I think it's to prepare for a very specific doomsday scenario. Okay, picture this. You are you are 100% straight alpha male guy. For real. There's no gay bone in your body. Boobs and pussy are your bread and butter. You are literally just a man's man. You I didn't want to say you literally you're a man's man. Muscles, everything. They open the textbook that says man. You are the picture. The definition is you. You decided to go on a nice plane ride to go visit some family or go on vacation or whatever. But wait, this is after Donald Trump cut all the funding to the planes. Now you're stranded on an island. Everyone on the plane is dead except for you and one other person. And that person, the other passenger that is alive, is the most femme-looking twink imaginable. Literally. Not a single hair on his body. It looks like he moisturizes every day, but it's all natural. Thick ass, thick thighs, DSLs, literally, whatever you like, long hair, short hair, whatever. Literally, aside from down there, he looks unequivocally, imaginably like a girl. Like, he makes trans girls jealous with his natural beauty. Like, he gives trans people dysphoria. Like, because, like, how can someone like this exist when I take hormones every day or whatever? Like, literally, just unequivocally. You two are stranded. You have enough food to survive. You can hunt for food or whatever. Like, surviving isn't the problem. Like, you can eat, you can drink, whatever. The problem is purely the fact that you're going to be stranded there for a while. Well, how long do you think you're going to last? Like, and for real, he wants you. Like, wants you. Nay, needs you. And you can do literally anything to him. Anything, and he'll do it. Remember, in this scenario, you're not bi, you're not gay. You are 100% straight. Realistically, how long are you gonna last? How long are you gonna fucking last? You might resist at first, but eventually you're gonna start going, maybe. The second one is kind of like similar, but not necessarily. And basically, it's just the general idea of like, you know how when we're like in the womb, everybody's female and then they become male when they're in the womb? Well, basically, what if everybody starts off bi in the womb, and then you just sort of like start shifting on to one end of the Kinsey scale? You know, whatever. Basically, I mean, yeah, it's just kind of like just ideas. Maybe, maybe not. Why else do you think the gay people are still around? Because like it has to be at least somewhat genetic. Like, you know, this is the whole argument of like nature versus nurture. It's like a little bit of both. Let's be real, but like, come on, there has to be at least some element of nature in there. All right, next one. Gay stereotypes. Like, what do I mean by gay stereotypes? This is a big conspiracy theory about gay stereotypes that I think is real. We know gay stereotypes for men, right? They wear pink, they wear makeup, the feminine voice, like, hello, it's me. Like, you know, that kind of stuff. Like, the extreme, like, gay man, like stereotypes. Basically, it's like, they're basically one of the gals. Like, yeah. We know these stereotypes, right? Alright. But next question. Remember, you know lesbian stereotypes too, right? Like, there's a very huge part of lesbian stereotypes being, like, the exact opposite. They cut their hair to be, like, straight and short. They have somewhat, like, they wear masculine clothes. They, like, you know, look like lumberjacks. They have, like, deeper voices. They don't really do any feminine things, you know. Yeah. Like, all that kind of stuff. What if, hypothetically, we put these guys in the wrong category? What if these guys aren't just lesbian? What if they aren't just gay? What if the people who made these stereotypes were in fact trans people all along before being trans was considered more accepted? Like I said before, there are a lot of people who were like trans that literally, when they were younger, were told like, just stop at being gay. Why do you have to go further? Just be gay. And that's the big thing. Like, what if the people who exerted these stereotypes were just trans people who weren't out of the closet yet? And one of the strangest things is there are a lot of people who actually agree with me, but they don't actually agree with me. But they say exactly what I say. In the sense, like, literally, there are a lot of, like, TERF lesbians who literally go, if I was born today, I would have been called trans. Well, yeah, but, like, what if you are? I'm just saying, like, it's like this notion of, like, because, like, you can't force a child to be gay. You can't force anybody to be gay. You can't force them to be something they're not. That's why it's, like, there has to be some element of biology to it. Because, like, you can't completely, like, you can't force them to be gay. Like, you can convince them to lie about it, but you can't force a person to be gay, or you can't force someone to be straight. But the problem is, like, this is the fact. It doesn't really matter, because, like, yeah, it's just, like, I mean, maybe that's a bit stretch, because just, like, you know, gender and sexuality is very fluid. You know, there's some people who are gay who literally will exert every single gay stereotype imaginable. Then there's some people who are gay who will exert no gay stereotypes imaginable. So maybe they just were guys who liked wearing pink and being one of the gals. I don't know. All right, next crackpot theory. The governments in the US and UK let the Lusitania sink. I've given a bit more evidence of this in my World War I video, in my video about William Jennings Bryan, but given Woodrow Wilson and the British MPs' actions that in the lead up to the Lusitania, it's slightly sus situation. One thing I'll clarify that nobody seemed to correct me on, even though it's like fucking like, I don't know why anybody didn't correct me on this. I keep calling, like in the video and in the past, I've claimed that the Lusitania is an American ship. It's not. It's a British ship. My bad. It's what I put it in a comment. I put it in a pinned comment in the video where it's like, nobody fucking told me that it was a British ship. And it kind of like, it doesn't destroy all my arguments, but like it destroys one part where it's like, why did the American ship go down there? Well, it's not an American ship. It had Americans on it, but it wasn't an American ship. But yeah, but it doesn't really disprove everything I said. One is like the fact that the Lusitania sank after like British MPs like Winston Churchill said that they needed to, like they were telling people like, hey, we need to egg the US to get involved in the war. And when you had people in Woodrow Wilson's administration, like William Jennings Bryan, literally openly saying, hey, we should warn Americans to not get on British ships, to avoid European shores, to prevent war from breaking out, and for the US to get involved. Woodrow Wilson openly said no, which is why I believe that every single belief that, like, oh, Woodrow was an isolationist, but he was dragged into the war is just fucking bullshit. It's bullshit. William Jennings Bryan explicitly said, hey, Woodrow, my main man, I don't think this is a good idea. I think we should officially have the US government warn people to not get on British ships out of fear that they could potentially be killed in a U-boat invasion. And then Woodrow Wilson goes, no. What instead I'm going to do is I'm going to condemn the Germans for doing this. And with things later like the Nye Committee showing that like industries like banking industry and the weapons industry were literally egging America to get involved in the war, despite the fact that, again, we had no business being a part of the war. The ensuing military-industrial complex was doing this. It's just bullshit. It's just nonsense. That's like that. The notion like, oh, Woodrow Wilson was actually like, he was a good boy and he was forced into this. No, he wasn't. It's very obvious that he was it's very obvious that he was egging the US to get involved in the war as well. It's almost like it's insane propaganda as people who literally still use the fucking like Zimmerman telegram as proof that the US need to get involved. I really don't like the fact that alt history literally just did like the alt history guy, whoever what's his fucking name? Alt history Cody, whatever his name is. It was like literally the week after I made my World War I video, and then he made a video where it's like, you know, the Zimmerman telegram. What if they didn't send that? What if it didnn't tell Mexico to invade the United States? It's like, that's not true. That's not how it worked. It was literally, hey, if America gets involved, we should encourage you to get involved. If they stayed out of the war, Mexico wouldn't have it. It was the biggest empty threat imaginable. Next one, Reagan put crack cocaine into low-income black neighborhoods. To be honest, I didn't even know this was a conspiracy theory until like a year or two ago, whenever I made the fucking video. This was just so culturally ingrained to me by watching a lot of black media when I was younger. And concrete evidence I don't have a lot of concrete evidence necessarily. Basically, it's the equivalent, to me, literally, this kind of is the equivalent of saying, like, the grass is green. It's like, yeah, this is just kind of, yeah. But in preparing for this one, I wanted to, like, do a brief check to, like, see, like, if was there anything that, like, explicit, like, that at least gave, like, some indication of this, and led me to, at the very least, reading, like, blurbs about the Dark Alliance series by Gary Webb, a journalist who basically, like, did some research into this, and concluded that the primary movers of the crack cocaine epidemic in the United States were the Contras, aided by the CIA. And if you remember, Reagan already had a lot of connections with the Contras due to Cold War drama, thanks to his boy Ollie North. With some official reports later coming about it, and when they did it, not every single claim was debunked. The closest thing we got to a debunking was when it was like stated like with like there are two things that said like that let me just read them. The allegations contained in the original Mercury News articles were exaggerations of actual facts, with another journalist stating that Webb was wrong on some important details, but he was in a way closer to the truth than any of his establishment media critics who neglected the story of the real CIA-Contra cocaine connection. And I mean, I'm not necessarily subscribing to like those specific, like his specific theories, but I'm just saying, like, it's just like the broad general idea. And to make the tinfoil hats like rustle even more, when I looked him up, the Wikipedia blurb says cause of death suicide. Because of fucking course it is. Next one. The Satanic Panic was created to sow discord about public schools. I saw this theory in a tweet, and not gonna lie, after seeing that tweet and doing a little bit of research for other things, and other things I had already done prior research on, I'm sold. I'm kind of sold. The Satanic Panic, for those who don't know, was when during the 80s and 90s, the media and evangelical groups were basically saying that any and everything was like the kids were doing were Satan. It wasn't the first moral panic like this, and certainly not the last. But while most paint it as Christians going crazy, which it is, what if there was a little bit of another purpose to it? You see, most of these claims were done with schoolyard activities. Sometimes they're like Pokemon cards or Satan or devil. Dungeons and Dragons, Satan or devil, and they're like Dungeons and Dragons schools. Like, what? Like school clubs or Dungeons and Dragons? Satan? With some even going so far as to claim that the schools are facilitating this, or just letting it happen, which sows discord about public schools. And every couple of years, there's always some kind of campaign that has something to do with public schools, and making you question their legitimacy. Brown v. Board of Education led to conservatives to push against public schools in the 50s and 60s. There were a lot of like common drug conspiracy theories, particularly the Blue Star LSD tattoo, which was a moral panic at schools for the 70s and 80s. Silly bands, for those who don't remember, became a moral panic in schools because some people, this is fucking strange. There are people who legitimately, literally, silly bands were, people were alleging that silly bands, or there were, other bracelets that were going on in school. There was another brand of bracelets, I forget what it was. I remember because I think when I was younger, I had my sister literally did believe this as well, where it's you gotta be careful with some of these things, because you would wear bracelets, and it's the conspiracy was that if you wore certain types of bracelets, it let you know what kind of sex acts you did. And from my experience, I was told that if you broke, if you broke one, you would have to do it. If somebody walked up to you and broke your blue one, I think blue was oral, if I remember correctly. But I did just look up the silly band, controversy on Vice, and, that's where I got, the specific act, I guess. Because, it was nonsense. But that was the moral panic of the 2000s. Schools have, that? What? And with the 2020s, we have the schools are secretly transing your kids. All these point to the same conclusion. A public school is bad, sowing discord in the public school system. Surprisingly, none of them actually point to, actual problems with the education system or the fact that there are, mass shootings that are going on. But, regardless. Next one. COINTELPRO still exists in some capacity. Now, right off the bat, where's the theory? Yeah, this isn't really necessarily, big. I mean, I literally talked about not that long ago a news story that I saw of literally a Black Panther who just died, and then it's just oh yeah, by the way, they were being secretly tailed by the FBI up to their death. And it's wait, what? But this is a specific way that I'm going about it. I genuinely believe that there are a lot of indie media left-wing podcasters that are literally just part of the plan, part of COINTELPRO. And not the ones that you think. If you actually know anything about how COINTELPRO works, and if you do, you realize this. Because a lot of people like to say this, and you hear this, because, listen to this. You hear people like Jimmy Dore, and you hear people like the Revolutionary Blackout Network, and you have a lot of people, say, oh, Vosh, or Dylan Burns, or whatever, they're, CIA ops. But if you actually know how this sort of, ops things works, that's not how it works. They don't fund the people who say, hey guys, we need to take our action and we need to translate it into running viable campaigns, try and prevent the bad people from taking charge and actually doing this or this. No. They fund the people who say, no, extreme radicalism. They fund the people who say, do crazy shit that doesn't have any actual accomplishments. So right off the bat, you know what I'm saying. Those specific types of the podcasters are the ones I'm talking about. Those are the ones that are ops. Those are the ones that are CIA, whether it be through algorithmic boosting or actually just paying them to be ops. I don't think we really do the whole paying people directly to be ops. I think most of the time they just pay people who, or just make other people who like do things to like do whatever. But here's the thing. I know what some of the people who are of this type might say. They might say like, what are you talking about? I actually believe blah, 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 blah. It's like, as Noam Chomsky once said, I'm sure you believe everything you're saying. But what I'm saying is that if you believed something else, you wouldn't be sitting where you're sitting. And right off the bat, I'll just call it specifically, I think MAGA communists are a huge part of it. Genuinely think that the plan was to make unstable communists who would have been the next Shulgos or Oswald and then turn them to be tools of fascists rather than be tools that we're going to use against fascists. The government creates conspiracy theories to spread the populace. Now, again, you might be wondering, where's the theory? Because I'll get to that in a second. But I believe that a lot of the extremely outlandish conspiracy theories are all ops. You know, crazy bullshit, you know, like the earth is flat. Like, and again, like before any flat earthers come out and be like, but I'm not saying that you don't believe what you're saying, but I'm saying that if you believe something different, you wouldn't be sitting where you are. And to an extent, we know this is a fact. We know like stuff like the QAnon stuff, the Nord Stream pipeline and Seth Rich theories were spread by a lot of Russian and Chinese social media bots. And the same thing with like the previous thing I said. Like we know that a lot of like of these types of people are like boosted by Russian ops. But I mean, again, further, I think things like UFO conspiracy theories, flat earthers, 9/11 conspiracy theories, they're all either 100% ops, fake, or just astroturfing people who are fucking brain dead stupid to becoming prominent, which then makes more things. But why would they do this? Well, there are a couple of reasons. One, to keep you ill-informed. Stupid people are easier to control than, you know, normal people. And if you're stupid enough to think that the earth is flat, yeah, you're stupid and will do literally anything. Two, to silence real dissent. After 9/11, everyone who wasn't blowing the war horn for Iraq was lumped in the same boat. Literally. Everybody who was lumped in the same, everybody who wasn't like 100% in favor of invading Iraq, they were all lumped in the same boat. Ranging from people who said, I think that rushing into the war is not a good idea. Those guys were lumped in the same boats as
the Jews in 9/11 to get all the gold underneath the towers.
Both of those people were lumped into the exact same boat. And last but certainly not least, keep you distracted. Notice how UFO conspiracies always happen right when controversies are going on? Interesting. The next one, the dead internet theory is about to become extremely true. For those who don't know, the dead internet theory is the theory that the internet has been majority bot run since around 2016-2017 in order to maintain algorithms and push narratives. Now, some of that is true, but I don't think that a majority of the internet is that yet. I think that it's been a slow build, but I think we're at the point where it will become a big thing now. We started off seeing, like with 2016 with the Russian bots, then it gets bigger and larger, you know, rise of artificial intelligence to the point where now literally AI integration is central to every single social media app now. We're now at the point where Facebook literally announced that they are going to be creating AI Facebook accounts and just releasing them in the wild. Like just openly, no questions, no ifs, ands, or buts. Yeah, the dead internet theory is about to become true. We have AI generated content. We're about to reach a point where like we're literally going to be fighting with AI to preserve the internet. And it's gonna be a hell of a battle when it inevitably comes. The next crackpot theory. Well, I mean, the cure for cancer. But wait, it's not the conspiracy one you think. It's not the one you think it is. Like, the bullshit about, like, they're hiding the cure for cancer is fucking stupid. It's stupid. I hear this all the time where it's like, they are hiding the cure for cancer. No, here's what would happen if, like, the cure for cancer was discovered. Here's what would happen. It would get marked up for, like, $5 billion for a pill or whatever. That's what would happen. It's bullshit and stupid, and it would just be, like, a fucking it's just a dumbass theory. Want to hear mine, though? It's way darker and probably more realistic, unfortunately. Alright, but first I have to get a little bit of an explanation. What is cancer? Cancer is a group of diseases involving abnormal cell growth with the potential to invade or spread other parts of the body. Literally, in the most basic sense, cancer is when your body creates a cell that starts multiplying way too fast. We know how mitosis works. Like, your body has cells, and your body goes like, look, cell, zoop. Okay, now you have 2 cells. One died. Now you have this one. Zoop, died. Zoop, died. Zoop, died. All right? But what happens when the cell starts going zoop, 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 like it starts spreading too fast? Normally, your body goes, hey, hold on. Whoops, because what's the actual statistic? Let me pull it up real quick. Okay, I couldn't find it, but I remember hearing a thing that said once every 15 minutes your body produces a cancer cell, and then normally your body goes, whoops, that's a oopsie, and then kills it real quick. But the first part of cancer is that your body is weakened by certain things, whether it be genetics, lifestyle, whatever. But there are compounding factors that go, okay, it weakens your body to the point where it might miss the cancer cell. Then it starts growing, spreading, whatever. All right? But think about that. That's all it is. It's where cells in your body start going and growing out of control. Okay? So then how the fuck do you stop that? How do you stop a disease that is literally just that? Stage 0 is usually when your body handles things they just go real quick. Stage 1, or maybe even some parts of stage 2, sometimes the quickest route is just surgery. Just literally go in and just cut it out. Actually, I guess that would purely be a stage 1 thing, or I guess depending on the size of the tumor or whatever. But the one where it's contained within a tumor, where it's contained in that one tumor, they'll just be surgery, get it out. But when it starts spreading, how do you then stop it? You can't go in and remove every single cancer cell just by going you can't do that. So what you do is you take, chemotherapy is the most obvious example. Chemotherapy. But what the fuck is chemotherapy? Well, chemotherapy, very simply, kills cells. It kills cells, as Cancer Research UK says, chemotherapy kills cells that are in the process of dividing into 2 new cells. Alright, but notice that. It kills any cell in the process of mitosis. So what if your normal body cells are going through mitosis and you're starting to inject chemotherapy into you? Well, those ones gotta go too. Ones that do that a lot are white blood cells, which is what usually leads to people dying of chemotherapy because they accidentally kill too many white blood cells, and that leads to a rise of an infection or something like that. But wait, I just listed a bunch of science. What's my theory? Well, the theory is very simple. Since cancer is not just a one thing, it isn't a specific illness, it's a variety of illnesses that can be caused by a variety of different factors that are done in a lot of different factors, and based on the fact that literally the only thing that is the fact that it is just spreading of cells too fast, I don't think there's gonna be a cure for cancer. That's a real dark take, but I just gotta be real. Much in the same way, there'll never be a cure for the common cold. A lot of people like to go well, why isn't there a cure for common cold? Because the common cold is literally just a upper respiratory infection that can be caused by a variety of different viruses. And in the same way, cancer can be caused by a lot of different factors. Eat too much red meat, cancer. Smoke, cancer. Drink, cancer. Too much Red 40, cancer. Too much sugar, cancer. Sit in the sun too long, cancer. Literally, there are a lot of factors that can cause you to get cancer. You can do literally everything right, but then you just so happen, your body just messes up and just forgets that one cancer cell that just grew, and then magically it's too late. I think chemotherapy is literally going to be the best thing that we get. This is the closest thing we're going to get to a cure for cancer. It's sad, but it's kind of realistic, not going to lie. And last, but certainly not least, one that's probably, I guess, the most controversial, maybe, I don't know. But it's the fact that Jesus never existed. Yep, that's right. I'm a subscriber of the Christ myth theory, and it's not just edgy atheism, though I think it might have started that way. But even at the time, I don't know if I actually believed in the Christ myth theory, or if it was just like, again, like, lols, God's not real, atheism, lol, put the Bible in the fiction section. But, you know, I probably, like, just generally subscribe to, like, the idea of, like, oh yeah, there was just a guy named Jesus that probably existed at some point in the past and, like, pushed for this Christianity thing, and then, you know, whatever. Much in the same way, like, yeah, Muhammad probably existed. I mean, and it's like, again, like, you notice I specifically cited Jesus, not like Muhammad or whatever. I think this can kind of be applied to most other religious figures as well, but I don't really know the whole ins and outs, especially considering like, the last time I went to a fucking church, like, they literally talked about the fact, like, oh, Muhammad has a grave. It's like, I guess there's a little bit more credence to his existence if he's in a fucking grave. But I made the foolish mistake of actually looking in to not only, like, the whole historicity of Jesus or whatever, and the actual, like, tenets of the Christ myth theory. In other words, apparently, it's like I mean, it's seen as like a historical fringe theory, but I think it has a lot of tenets. It has a lot of people to do subscribe to it. There's apparently one dude, and I'm blanking on his name, but he alleges that Christianity actually began as a fucking, like, extreme, like, cult in, like, one specific area, and he attributes Jesus' existence to them taking shrooms and then envisioning a man named Jesus. I don't know if I believe in that, but that'd be, like, hell of a based if true. And in doing research, I kind of, like, started going, like, you know, it's a similar thing with, like, just religion as a whole. It's like, I looked at their claims, but then their claims didn't really hold up to scrutiny. Let's look into some reasons. One, big thing, the only evidence of the life of Jesus Christ during the life of Jesus Christ is the Bible, which is an unreliable source. And in that same vein, I think all Christian sources on Jesus Christ's existence should be thrown out. Of course, they're going to have a vested interest in proving Jesus' existence. And historians know this, so they usually don't count, like, Christian sources of, like, I don't think they typically cite, like, the Gospels of, what's his name? Peter? Is it Peter or Matthew? I forget which one. The one that, like, everybody loves. I forget his name at the moment. Fuck. Okay, I just looked it up, but his name is Paul. Whoops. But the thing is, like, most of, like Christian sources, like, most historians don't, like, necessarily, like, I mean, they, like, put them in the fold, you know, just to have, at least be like, hey, we have, like, just to put it in the fold. But, like, they don't, like, usually look at those guys as, like, proof. They usually look at non-Christian sources for proof. But unfortunately, a lot of non-Christian sources kind of treat Jesus as more of, like, the aspect, like the abstract. Like, I mean, there's one that I looked at. It's like a minor source. It's not really that relevant. It's like a minor one. It's called Pliny the Younger. It says here on the wiki page, the provisional governor of Pontus wrote to Emperor Trajan, CC 212, concerning how to deal with Christians who refused to worship the emperor and instead worship Christus. Charles, who did not doubt the Jesus of the Gospels of Nicola, nevertheless dismisses as acceptable evidence of historical Jesus. Okay, so it's basically like, he basically just says, like, it's basically just them saying, like, yeah, like, it's fucking weird. It's like, it literally is just like, yeah, these guys worship Jesus Christ. That doesn't prove his existence. That proves that they worship him. But the two primary non-Christian sources that people use are are as follows. Like, I mean, they're two main ones. And one thing that it's like, if there was any historical source that was literally during Jesus' lifetime, like a text, like a prominent text from an emperor, look, let's just say the Roman emperor had a diary at the time, and then the diary was discovered, and it's like, on this day of this year, there's this strange man in Bethlehem. They have stated that they believe that he can he can turn water into wine. He can walk on water. He's claiming that he is the Messiah and that I am not the rightful ruler of Rome and I must deal with him immediately. Like, if that was discovered, that'd be amazing. That'd be like top tier proof. It would be necessarily, it would be like a little bit flawed, you know, again, because like it's like so far back in history and like a lot of things, but it would still be at least somewhat verifiable proof. Unfortunately, no source from his lifetime. It's always after his lifetime, and not just, it's always after his death, and it's usually not, it's usually like I mean, the two main sources are like 90, like the two sources I'm about to list are 90 years to 100 years after he died. And like the one that the one that I just read, like the one from the younger, that one is from again, like it was long after he died, at least long enough to like multiple generations passed. But there are two big sources, not primary, but like two big sources that are usually used to prove Jesus' existence. One is from a Jewish historian named Josephus. But unfortunately for him, the dumbass who was put in charge of making sure that his thing was there, turns out they tampered with it. Because when his source was discovered, they literally had the word, the Lord, in the text. A Jewish person wouldn't call Jesus Christ the Lord. So it's like, wait, hold on, this is tampered with. And then they later went like, well, I mean, yeah, but it is tampered with. But like, I mean, yeah, it was just that part that was tampered with. Like, how can I trust your source now if it's literally been tampered with? And another one, which is seen as a lot more noticeable, is Tacitus, a Roman senator. But here's the thing. He was literally on a council to deal with cults. As such, he hated Christians. And that's a good point against using his sources. Like, some people like use that. Look, he hated Christians. He has absolutely no reason to like prove Jesus Christ is real. It's like, well, I mean, unless he wants to like justify like the murder of Christians that happened during the Roman times. Like, literally, there was like a genocide of Christians that happened during that time period. It's like, and stuff like this was used as like justification. Like, yeah, we're just getting rid of this crazy cult, like with a stupid cult leader. This dude was claiming the emperor was like stupid. So yeah, we're gonna go deal with him. Like, literally. That's literally why. Like, that's the thing. You need to understand things from the other perspective. Christians are like, oh, they killed Jesus because he was the son of the God. No, they didn't. They killed him because he was a crazy fucking cult leader. But then some people might reply, well, if that's the case, if these sources aren't real or like verifiable or whatever, then why do most historians default to Jesus being real then? Why is the Christ myth theory being considered fringe then? Well, probably because over 70% of the world is Christian. Yeah, I mean, dude, if history proved Jesus didn't exist, all history would be burned down. That is a fact. Also, due to the fact that over 70% of the world is Christian, I'm going to take a wild guess that a decent number of historians are Christian too. So maybe they also don't want to prove that their entire Lord and Savior and their entire belief system is fucking garbage. You see, and that's the problem with it, like with this religious thing. It's like, if Jesus Christ wasn't the Son of God and wasn't the whatever, they literally are just like, yeah, I guess it's just bullshit. Then it's like, you can't take like the philosophy of like what he said or anything. Like, bro, if Jesus was just a guy who espoused to like a belief system or an ideology, then that'd be one thing. That would literally be one thing. Like, but like, I mean, look. I'm wearing a Che Guevara shirt. I admire like figures who like espouse ideologies and whatever. But if your whole like, I mean, that's literally the thing. It's like, that's why it's just dumb. It's just like, that's why I'm not religious at all. It's like, okay, so like one end, it's like you claim that he's the Son of God, and like anybody who doesn't believe that is a heathen or whatever. But like, you're only following him because you believe he's the Son of God, not because you actually give a shit about his ideas or not because of anything, just because you think he's the Son of God. And that's why your belief system is shallow and trash. But I also acknowledge this fact about like the historical Jesus or whatever. I know that really, like I know a couple of things. One, yeah, it's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. There probably was some dude named Jesus who was at the time like, was crazy cult guy. Maybe Muhammad was similar, but not similar or whatever. But like, regardless, I also know this fact. Ultimately, we'll never be able to figure out the true answer unless a multi-faith time travel group travels back to the Jesus times and then goes, where's this Jesus fellow? And then figures that out. Then that's the only way we'll be able to figure it out, and time travel won't happen, so, whatever. We'll never know the answer. The fact of the matter is that we'll just never know the answer. So yeah, those are all my crackpot theories. Feel free to call me crazy or whatever in the comment section below. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and click the bell to notify when a future video of mine comes out. And if you want more content from me, consider supporting me on Patreon.